Hello everyone, I am Unstoppable Tracy, super excited to be here with all of you and Unstoppable You. And my exciting story today is about exceeding uncertainty in a whole new sailing way. So many of you know my Paralympic dream and that I became a Paralympic trialist. I did not make it to the Paralympics, did not make it to Rio, but I definitely made and fulfilled my dreams of becoming a sailor. And it all started when I was getting some new legs. I was waiting in a prosthetics waiting lounge, and an 18, 19-year-old girl came walking into the waiting room at Hugh McMillan Medical Center. At the time, it was called Ontario Crippled Children's Center. We've certainly come a long way from then. And she asked the receptionist, I am a student, I'm doing recreation at Centennial College, and I would love to do adaptive sailing. Can you please share with me some names of some of your clients? And the secretary at the time said, I'm really sorry, I'm excited you got that project, but for privacy reasons, we can't give you those names. But I was in the waiting lounge at the time, and I could hear this Kathy making this request. So I went stumping after her with my legs were in being fixed at the time and saying, I want to go. And so Kathy Smart, who is now business owner of Smart Moves, Kathy Smart brought me into the loop. And she used to race on big boats, and she also ran a small sailing program that she called Independence Afloat. And there were a lot of kids who were also able-bodied, and when I had to go sailing, I had to pass a swim test. And so you had to be able to swim 2 lengths of a swimming pool and demonstrate that. And when we did it that day, I was the strongest swimmer, even stronger than the able-bodied kids. And so when we went out sailing, because I swim with my legs off, I sail with my legs off. So when we were sailing, I spent most of the time falling out into the water, because when I'm perched on the side of the boat, I'm a bit of a weeble wobble doll, and I would fall out into Lake Ontario. And what really worked for me was Kathy believed I was capable. And I believed I was capable. Kathy's opinion was, everybody's got life jackets on, everybody knows how to swim. Why is it any more dangerous for 4-way amputee Tracy to be falling in Lake Ontario than any other 11-year-old girl falling in the water? And so she believed I was capable. And that summer, instead of getting my White Sail Level 1, I got a fish. I got a paper fish because I ended up swimming with the fish more than I did in the boat. And some of you might feel like that's disheartening, that all the other kids got their White Sail Level 1 and I didn't. But I wanted to be there, and I knew I would be capable. And so I came back that next summer and I caught up. All of the other kids got their White Sail Level 2, and I got my White Sail Level 1, and I got my White Sail Level 2. But unlike all those other kids, I also got my White Sail Level 3. Once I learned how to balance in the boat, I figured it out. I realized that I had a bit of an affinity for the wind. It was natural for me, and I loved the water. I loved the boat. To this day, the only time my mind completely shuts off is when I'm in a boat. And so I went on with sailing from being that kid that fell out of the boat when I first started that first summer and not even getting my White Sail Level 1, to being in a Miami World Cup regatta in 2015, sailing against approximately 40 other sailors, and approximately 9 of them have disabilities, give or take. And most of them, more than 3/4 of them, are men. And most of them are able-bodied. And many of those men look a little bit like Vikings, because the boat is a Norwegian boat, and so there's people from Norway and Germany and Scandinavia and from all over the world. And here's little old me sailing against them. And my competitors who have disabilities, small number of them, they're missing their thumb, or they're missing their foot, or they have some paralysis below the waist. I call all of that paper cuts. There was a man who knocked it out of the park, who had hands on his shoulders, and he had very shortened legs, so he could steer the boat with his feet. And he did have hands, but he was a neat guy that used his mouth to haul lines, and he kicked butt. And so what's really neat about this sailing journey for me is it taught me at a really young age, you persevere, you stick with it, and you can exceed your uncertainty. Just be unstoppable you. Exceed those uncertainties. Don't let anything stop you. And this goes for when you're managing your employees. If you see an employee struggling, you see somebody that's sort of symbolically falling out of the boat, not getting that project management plan that you're trying to get them to follow. They could be your Paralympic trialist, your World Cup participator, if you just let them figure it out when they're struggling in the beginning, because they will be so committed and so determined in the end. Thank you for being with me today.